What's poppin', y'all? Dochi, our favorite plant, and I say that with no sarcasm whatsoever. I actually really enjoy her music and what she's doing, but we're not going to cover up history. She decided to say something that I find interesting and I think a lot of people are going to find controversial. She said, this generation got no superstars, and she's ready to take up the mantle. Not so much the last part. For a quote, she was doing a cover, I don't know if it was a cover or a piece for Vogue UK, and it says here, on the couch, she's being pulled back to the studio. We don't really have a superstar of this generation just yet, because there hasn't been enough time, she says. When I look at pop culture right now, I'm just trying to figure out, okay, what does a Dochi superstar look like? What does it take to make that? I have no clue. I'm still figuring it out. And then she's back to rehearsals, the hero we need, her braids thrown over her shoulder like a cape. Oh, hold on. I almost choked. That's the first time I actually read that quote. That last part really got me dead. Like, yo, the amount of glaze that they gave this chick is insane with that last part, like a cape. She's 100% right, though, and I've had this conversation many times in previous videos where I said the last superstar we had was Travis Scott. Travis Scott was in 2015 he debuted. Rodeo. He's 34 now or something like that. So there's been a whole nother generation. It's been 10 years. Like if you go from 2015 to 2005, think about how many superstars that we've had since 2005. At a period of time, B.O.B. was a superstar. We had, T.I. between 2005 and then. We had Ye. We had any number of people. We had J. Cole. We had Drake come out between 2005 and 2015. We could count on at least two hands and feet how many superstars came out during that era. Now, maybe not all of them lasted as long as, let's say, a Travis Scott or as long as a Lil Wayne, even though Lil Wayne debuted earlier. But Lil Wayne really came into superstardom post-2005. So it makes you think, like, damn, it's been 10 years since Rodeo, or nearly 10 years, but we've got no superstars. And some people have tried to say things like YoungBoy, and YoungBoy is a part of that younger generation, but you got to think, dog, YoungBoy has been here since 2016, 17, and YoungBoy has just outlasted everybody. And right now, I still wouldn't necessarily consider. So let's define a superstar, first of all. A superstar is somebody that is cross-cultural, international, and I don't necessarily think they have to be influential, but influence needs to be there. So Chief Keef was never a superstar. I would say Chief Keef was a star, but he never hit superstar status. Travis Scott, he hit that. Post Malone, he's a superstar, but Post Malone, he's exited his way out of hip-hop after the first project or two. Kendrick Lamar, a superstar. J. Cole, a superstar. Like, everybody knows about them. The closest we've gotten, I would potentially say, is Playboi Carti. But you got to hear me out, because I've said before, Playboi Carti isn't a superstar. The thing that I think hinders Playboi Carti is that he doesn't have music that is suitable to the palate of the majority of people. Like, you've got to be able to create radio-friendly songs to become a superstar in the modern day. It's just the nature of the game, man. Like, even Travis Scott early on, he had a hard time getting that dialed in. Like, he had Pick Up the Phone, which didn't really turn into a chart topper. Now, it was on the Hot 100 for a significant amount of time, and Carti had Magnolia, but these really didn't crack that. And Goosebumps was one of the slowest burns of any diamond record of the past 10 plus years. I don't know if that song hit top 40. Maybe it debuted in the top 40, but it never hit top 10 until that remix came out by, it was HVME, I think Hume. I don't know how to pronounce the name, but that remix came out, blew up on TikTok, etc., and then it went up. But Playboi Carti, I think him collabing with The Weeknd, that assisted him. We've seen Carti tour throughout. We've seen globally we've seen Carti's presence. Like, for example, when he was supposed to perform at Rolling Loud in Thailand, Thailand was going crazy. Not just Thailand, because many people from China, Russia, and nearby Asian countries that were big Playboi Carti fans, Korea, China, and Russia, they would all fly out to Rolling Loud because Playboi Carti was headlining, and they were upset and really irate that Playboi Carti canceled that show. And even if you look at a lot of these clubs outside of the US, globally, Carti has that type of music, because I think the palette of UK, Europe, even Asia, it appeals to Playboi Carti can appeal to them. And I think they are more accepting. Whereas I think the rules are a bit more rigid in America. Like the average American is like, yo, what the hell is this? This sounds really weird. I need some bubblegum pop like Addison Rae Diet Pepsi, which is a fire song. I'm not going to lie. So and keep in mind, Playboi Carti came out in 2017. So I would say the closest person that we've had since Playboi Carti that would have fit that role is none other than Jack Harlow. Because Jack Harlow, while he did first come out in 2017, it was like some freestyle that blew up. It just blew up on Twitter and it did its numbers on YouTube, but it slowly cooled off. It was in the 2020s that he really started to take off and people were like, yo, this guy's kind of like Drake. And he did take a lot of influence from Drake, but he came out with hit songs. Like he had First Class, he had Industry Baby with Lil Nas X, that was a smash hit. He had The Appeal, he had the swagger, he had everything really. And then he kind of just, I wouldn't say fell off, but he fell back for a while. I think he took the acting route. He just didn't double down. And I think the debut hindered him a little bit because of the reception of it or lack of a good reception. But anybody else that's come out since then, they haven't been able to take off. There have been countless underground artists like for example, a Yeat. Yeat, I don't think he can make music that's palatable to like that grand audience that everybody's trying to reach for, which is why like country is doing well, but internationally country's it's a failure. And not nobody, because everybody's like, oh, I listen to country. Country is pretty domestic. If you look at Spotify's global streaming charts, country's not really there. I think that is part to do with it. Dochi, for instance, I just don't think we have room for a superstar. I think we're going to have many small stars, but no superstars. And that's okay, because now we also have to talk about another thing, which is many of these countries abroad started to fill in the gap of music production and just getting up to the level of making good enough music in their language from their own people that could compete with that of a US-based artist. So, for example, like let's say someone's in Russia, right? And there's a Russian artist that's making music as good, quote unquote, as Playboi Carti. And a lot of these artists are really just kind of ripping what the popular American artists who are at the forefront of who are at the forefront for the most part and doing it in their own language, but they can relate more. They're talking directly to their people. There's a shared cultural experience there. So those people are going to become superstars domestically, which reduces the amount of superstars or room for a superstar in that country for a completely different language, which is English in this case. Like Bad Bunny, he's a superstar. And I would say, yeah, this generation has Bad Bunny, but perhaps Dochi's talking about like, many people aren't Spanish speakers, so they can't really relate to a Bad Bunny. I would even say Peso Pluma is also a superstar. So we have had superstars blow up, and keep in mind, a Bad Bunny, a Peso Pluma, they're really not driving numbers like that in Asia. Whereas English speaking or English performing artists are doing that if they've got a hit song. DaBaby, Roddy Ricch, I think was the closest one that we saw because The Box was a super smash, but we saw that. It's very, very difficult to follow up on that. So Dochi's right, and I like that she's aiming for that, but you even got to take a look at somebody like Tyler, the Creator. Is Tyler, the Creator a superstar? I mean, the guy's doing arenas and all of that, and he's quite big, but even him, I wouldn't consider him a superstar. Like, to be a superstar, you have to be able to pump out hits consistently. You have to also have like a deep fan base where you can do massive tours. You've got to, like Dochi, they're trying to set her up for that. And the industry is behind her in that. And perhaps a female rapper has less competition and is more capable of becoming that superstar, because Dochi, like, she makes some great music. I just don't see her becoming a superstar, not because she doesn't have the talent or the machine or the backing or really the right looks. I just don't think we're in the era of superstars anymore. I think that's far behind us. And now everything's so fragmented, which is a positive because you can enjoy whatever you want. But really, the superstars are still the same ones that were here 10 years ago, other than Travis Scott. Like, it's still Drake, it's still Ye, it's still J. Cole, it's still Kendrick. It's not A$AP Rocky anymore, although you could argue if A$AP Rocky was ever a superstar. I think there was a very, very close point in time to where he could have become one or was one. A very short duration. But yeah, I like this conversation. Let me know what you guys think about this. If you disagree whatsoever, let me know in the comments. I enjoy this discussion a lot because, man, like we kind of grew up on the era of superstars. Like you had 50 Cents, you had Eminems, you had Lil Wayne's, and these people were just ever present. And also, perhaps like the democratization of music, like the amount of music that's being released makes you less connected to a superstar. Like back then, music released far less and you had to pay for it. So you had to choose where to allocate both your time, or you didn't really have to choose where to allocate your time because there were not really as many artists putting out good stuff as there are right now. Even though some people will be like, nah, man, like the music now sucks. Not really. Maybe if you're just listening to like the slop that's fed to you, sure. But there is a beautiful diversity of music and a lot of good stuff being dropped across the board. But let me know what y'all think in the comments. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you enjoyed. And I'm going to see you on the next one.